Hello students, I am Sachin Prakash and I teach and mentor students in chemistry for IIT I believe that the real confidence which is required to crack this IIT exam will come only when you are confident in tackling good problems. And that clarity and understanding of concepts will only develop when you are really comfortable in handling these problems. So this video contains the paper discussion which I have conducted in my uh, classes online. Okay, and a lot of good doubts are there which I have discussed here. It will be helping you people in understanding, developing an understanding in how to approach and tackle good problems. Okay, and if you like this, if you found this paper discussion video to be useful and interesting, you can, like, comment, and subscribe to this channel, which will surely, motivate me to add some more useful videos of this type. Okay, because ultimately it's this is just an effort, honest effort, small honest effort from my side to help the student, uh, help my students as well as other students also in their ITJ preparation. So let us begin with this paper discussion. Okay.
Okay, so today we are going to discuss AF Grand Test paper 1 as well as paper 2. That is the test code number is AFT 10. Okay, let me just disable the waiting room so everyone can go in. Okay, so and this paper is 18 question format. So 2 less questions for me to do and for you people also. So question number 19 is a doubt. Yes, no. Okay, I will give you some time to go through this question. See, whenever you're giving a paper, you mark the questions which you think that should be the part of the discussion. The quality of discussion will totally depend on your participation in it. Question number 19. The question is that you have 1.5 liters of 2 molar NaOH, 320 grams of bromine, and 0.5 mole of acetone. And you have the bromoform reaction or the haloform reaction. Now, it is given that the NaOH is present in excess. So the extra NaOH you can find out by reacting it with H2SO4. Okay. So using phenolphthalein as indicators, with NaOH you can use phenolphthalein as well as methyl orange because it is strong base. In both cases, you will get complete neutralization. So the indicator doesn't add any extra point here. Volume of H2SO4 required to reach the endpoint is, okay. So was this question done by you people? See, one point in this question is that your bromine, how to find out how many moles of which is reacting. So if you remember the mechanism of haloform reaction, then you see OH minus will be taking this hydrogen, okay, and you will be getting this carbon. Okay, let me just. You will be getting this carbon enolate ion, and then this is going to attack like this, and you are getting one hydrogen substituted by bromine. So you see, substituting one hydrogen with bromine requires a combination of one OH minus and one Br2. So there are 3 alpha hydrogens, so 3 times that substitution is going to take place. So 3 Br2 plus 3 into OH minus will be required. And then once you have gotten CBr3, it will be reacting with OH minus, okay, and CBr3 minus will be gotten. So you will be using the 4th mole of OH minus here. Are you getting a point? And then once this is found, CBr3 minus will take an acid from the acid itself, H plus from the acid itself, and you will be getting this as product. So you say, what is the total number of moles of KH used? 4 moles. And what is the total number of moles of bromine used? 3 moles. Are you getting up to this point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now, the moment you get this, then you see, you can write the whole reaction in stoichiometry format. Now, I know the products, but I don't care about their stoichiometric coefficient. I am mainly interested in finding the limiting reagent. So I write acetone plus NaOH plus Br2. You can write the product as CH3CO minus Na plus CHBr3, but it is not required for the problem. So you see, you are having 0.5 moles of this. So 1 mole of acetone will be requiring 4 moles of NaOH and 3 moles of Br2. You don't have to mug it up. You can see it from the mechanism itself. Okay. Now you are taking 0.5 moles, 3 moles, and 2 moles of NaOH, Br2. Okay, and acetone is given. Now you see, which one of these 3 is the limiting reagent? Can you tell me?
The one with least number of moles.
No. Normally it is, in this case it is with least number of moles, but generally N by SC ratio, which is minimum. That will be the limiting reagent. Are you getting my point?
Yes.
Okay, in this case your thing is correct. Okay, because you see this will be like 0.5 by 1, which is 0.5. This one will be 3 by 4, which is 0.75, and this will be 2 by 3, which is 0.67. Okay, in this case, but that is not the concept. Okay, this we have discussed in the limiting reagent part. It should be N by SC ratio only. Okay, so you see, this is going to get consumed completely. So it will be 0.5 will become 0. 1 mole of this is reacting with 4 moles of this. So 0.5 will react with 2 moles of NaOH. So 3 will go to 1. Okay, and 1 is reacting with 3 moles of Br2. So 0.5 will react with 1.5 moles of Br2. So this change will be 2 minus 1.5. It will be 0.5. Up to this, everyone is clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you see, it is said that the excess NaOH, this is the excess NaOH. This excess NaOH is estimated by reacting it with water. Okay. Reacting it with sulfuric acid. And it will be completely consumed. So my reaction will be NaOH plus H2SO4. It will give complete neutralization. Again, we are not interested in the products. Okay. So you see, equivalence of NaOH will be equal to equivalence of H2SO4. Getting my point? Equivalent of excess NaOH will be equal to equivalence of H2SO4. Are you getting this? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you see, N factor of NaOH will be 1. Okay. While N factor of H2SO4 is 2. Again, 1 into, you are having only 1 mole of NaOH. So 1 into 1, this is N factor. And this is the number of moles. Will be equal to 2. This is the N factor of H2SO4 into 0.5, which is the molarity of H2SO4, into V, which is the volume of H2SO4. If you solve this, answer will be 1 liter. Are you getting my point? Yes or no? Yes, no? Is there any doubt in this question? Some of you have to say yes at some point of time, okay, so that we can move forward. Don't wait for others. If you are feeling you are getting it, just say yes and we can move forward.
So what is the volume for NaOH?
See, we are not really interested in, see, it is given that you started with 1.5 liters of NaOH. Okay, that is given here. But it is not required because mainly acid-base reaction will be concerned with the equivalence. We are getting most directly, so most into n factor, we can find the equivalence. Are you getting my point? I have already converted everything into moles at the start only, so that I don't have to deal with volume. Okay, so that is the thing. Now, question number 20. Is it a doubt? Yes, no. I think the dialysis part will be a doubt for you people, right?
Yes, sir.
Other than dialysis part, A, B, and C are clear to you people?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the dialysis part is basically, okay, A, B, and C can be solved by this thing which I have given here. Okay. Now the D part is important. The D is that on persistent dialysis, salt precipitation of colloidal solution will take place. Now, what do you mean by dialysis? So basically what we do is in dialysis, we take a container in which we take a, like a pouch which is made up of a semi-permeable membrane. Okay. And what we do is that we are taking an aqueous solution. Okay. So this is my aqueous solution. Okay. And what we are doing is that we are adding the salt, colloidal salt particles from here. This is my salt, which is inside the semi-permeable membrane. Okay. Now you see, the salt particles are stabilized by electrolyte here. For example, if I'm talking about this AgI, if you add AgNO3, then what will happen? The positively charged Ag plus are attracted towards I minus. They will start sticking on the surface of the precipitate, and ultimately the repulsions will break the precipitate into particles of colloidal dimensions. Are you getting my point, everyone? Yes or no?
Yes.
So here the Ag plus is actually causing the formation of colloidal. If I remove this Ag plus, again these particles will come together and coagulate to form a precipitate. Are you getting my point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now the semi-permeable membrane will allow movement of electrolyte ions. But semi-permeable membrane will not prevents movement of colloidal particles. So what will happen? So the moment you are putting this pouch of, colloidal particles into the solution, you see the concentration of nitrate ion outside in this solution is negligible. Inside it is high. What will happen? There will be diffusion of NO3 minus outside. Are you getting my point? As well as Ag plus also. Are you getting my point? Yes or no?
Yes.
So if the ions start leaving, and ions can go through the semi-permeable membrane in this case, but colloidal particles which are bigger in dimensions cannot go. So what will happen? That the Ag plus will start diffusing out. So the colloidal particles will again start getting coagulated. This is known as dialysis. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this technique is actually used for the kidney patients, the kidney failure patients. Okay, I think the word dialysis you people must be familiar with. Okay, so in case of your people suffering from this kidney problems, actually the uric acid crystals inside are formed in a greater quantity inside the so if the concentration of uric acid is more, we need to remove that excess uric acid concentration from the blood. So that is why we go for dialysis. Okay, we will use a similar type of setup. Okay, passing the whole blood through a semi-permeable membrane, and the uric acid crystals will be coagulated there. So once they get coagulated, they will become solid. You can filter them out. Are you getting my point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that is persistent dialysis. Everyone is clear with this? In surface chemistry, we got only 3 days. So, some topics are there which will be learning through these problems only. Is it
Sir,
clear to you people? Okay.
Sir, option
Huh?
option A.
Option A. In electrophoresis, this first phase is basically your colloidal particles, no? What is the charge of the colloidal particles?
Positive.
So it will move towards which electrode? It will move towards negative electrode. Are you getting my point? Yes or no?
Okay, sir.
Any other doubts? Yes or no?
No, sir.
Okay. See, don't worry about others, whether others are getting it or not. If you are getting it, just say yes. So, we can move forward. And, even after the discussion at last, you will be having the option of asking the things again. Okay. So then we can jump to a particular question, but it is important that the flow of discussion is maintained. 21, is a doubt?
Yes, sir. Option A and B.
Yeah, you see, this is something like an aldol condensation thing. Okay, so you see, if you are having alpha hydrogens, okay, 1 minute. So, okay, if you are having alpha hydrogens and you have a carbonyl group, you can directly write the aldol product like this. Are you getting a point? These 2 hydrogens and an oxygen will combine and water is eliminated. Are you getting this thing? I think everyone
Yes, sir.
knows the
But, sir, A is also a possibility, right? It's the same thing as B, but then you don't have aldol.
final product, no. So as long as alpha hydrogens are there, it will keep on reacting.
Okay, okay, sir.
Okay. So that is why. It will be not final product, it will be an intermediate product. Getting a point?
Yes, sir.
So I think this thing is self-explanatory. 2 hydrogens, 2 hydrogens, 2 hydrogens, 2 hydrogen, oxygen, 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 and oxygen. So you'll be getting this type of compound which is aromatic from both sides. Everyone is clear? And option C and D you can do by this. Okay, here I have written the mechanism because the ring formation is involved. So you see, you have to label the carbons as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So at first carbon, if you form the carbanion, it will attack the 6th carbon. So you'll get something like this. Again, you label the ring to place the substituents. And then you heat it to get an alpha beta unsaturated double bond. Everyone is clear with 21? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So that is very good. 22 is a doubt. How many people, are you people remembering the Osazone reaction?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So people 2 points in all the points of Osazone reaction are covered here. First of all, 3 moles of phenyl hydrogen is covered. Okay, first for this carbon, second for this carbon, and third is you are getting aniline plus NH3 also. Are you getting my point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so 3 moles of phenyl hydrogen is consumed. Second is only the first 2 carbon atoms are involved in the ozazone formation. So the other 3 carbon atom configuration will remain same for the ozazone. So you see, if you are talking about glucose, I have told you people how to write the glucose configurations, okay, in terms of binary. So you see, glucose and mannose both will be giving the same ozazone because the last 3 configuration is 110 here. Okay, let me just change the color. You see, the last 3 atom configuration is same in case of mannose and glucose. Are you getting my point? Yes or no? And
Yes.
even fructose will also give the same ozazone. Because fructose also, last 3 carbons are 110 only. Are you clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So C2 epimer of reducing hexose sugar will also give the same ozazone. So that is the glucose and mannose are C2 epimers. Since the first 2 carbons are destroyed during ozazone formation, so even if the second carbon there was an epimeric carbon, it was its sterility is gone now. Okay. So and the C1, C2 are involved in ozazone formation due to formation of a 6-member transition state. So you see, once the ozazone is formed at the C2, the further reaction doesn't take place because of this cyclic ring formation. This I have given in the notes, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that is why after second carbon the reaction stops. Otherwise, by the same mechanism we can keep on continuing to all the OH groups. Okay. But it doesn't take place because of this ring formation. After this 23 is a doubt.
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, some people are having, so I will discuss it. Okay, see, there are 2 configurations which you have to write to solve this question: oxygen and nitrogen. Okay, because once you write the configuration of oxygen, O2 2 minus, O2 and O2 plus, all will follow the same energy order. Getting my point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
While N2 2 minus will follow its own lighter atoms energy order. Okay, where the pi 2px and pi 2py will be greater than will be less than sigma 2pz. Okay, here sigma 2pz will be less than pi 2px and pi 2py. Now you see they are asking 4 three parameters: integral bond order, paramagnetism, and Jared unjared. Okay. So you see first integral bond order. For integral bond order, the whole species should have even number of electrons. If it is having odd number of electrons, bond order will not be integral. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
So O2 plus will have like 15 electrons. Okay. So if you are writing it 10 minus 5 by 2, you see the bond order will be fractional in this case. So in the species with integral bond order will be O2 2 minus, N2 2 minus, and O2. Okay. Now when you're talking about paramagnetic species, so you see when you're talking about paramagnetic species, okay, then species with odd number of electrons will always be paramagnetic. This also I have given in the notes. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So O2 plus will automatically be paramagnetic. Now for even number of electrons, we have to check. So you say O2 and N2 2 minus, both will be having this configuration in which the last 2 electrons are coming into pi star orbitals, pi star 2px and pi star 2py. Are you getting my point? Yes or no? So 2 unpaired electrons means both will be paramagnetic. Getting this point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Third point. Third is Jared, unjared. Now you see, they are asking highest occupied molecular orbital. So if you write the configuration, the highest occupied molecular orbital will be, for O2 it will be pi star 2px, pi star 2py. And what will be LUMO? LUMO will be the next higher orbital, which is sigma 2pz. Is this clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
This will be the HOMO-LUMO combination for O2, O2 plus, and O2 2 minus. Are you getting my point? O2 2 minus means these two will be fully filled. O2 plus means there is only one electron in pi star 2px. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you see, what we have to decide whether this pi star 2px, pi star orbital is jared or unjared. Are you getting my point? Yes or no?
So what is Jared? That was
I will discuss. First, are you up to the point which I have discussed? You got it or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you see, same will be the case with N2 also. N2 also, this will be what? Your highest occupied molecular orbital, and sigma star 2pz will be the lowest unoccupied molecular orbital. Are you clear up to this point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we have to just see the structure of the pi star molecular orbital. I have discussed this in the class also, that if you are having, two pi orbitals and they are doing anti-bonding overlap, and this is minus, this is plus, this is minus, this is plus, then they will form this type of thing. Do you remember? Once upon a time in molecular orbital theory, we discussed these things.
No, sir.
No. Why? You are very
It's
kids.
been more than a year.
See, it's not more than a year, it is more than 2 years actually. We discussed it when you are very, very kids in this preparation. So you see how we do it is that you draw a middle line here. This half is plus and minus. Plus and minus will cancel out each other. Are you getting my point? So between these two nucleus, you will get a nodal plane because electron density is getting destroyed. Are you getting my point? Yes or no?
No.
See, this is a plus slope, this is a minus slope. They will cancel out each other.
Yes, then?
So the resultant electron density will decrease. This will be smaller than this whole lobe. I have drawn it a bit bigger, but it will be a bit smaller. And in middle, you will have a nodal plane. Getting my point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So you see, we have all these lobes will become smaller in size. So this will be like plus, this will be minus, minus and plus. Signs will be same. Getting my point up to this?
Yes, sir.
Now you see, this will be the center of symmetry. Okay. Now, jared and unjared sign are basically calculated that if you start with a point and then you go towards the center of symmetry by some distance, and then along the same line you go same distance again. If you get the point of same phase sign, it will be jared. If you get a point of opposite sign, it will be unjared or odd. Are you getting a point? Yes or no?
Sir, means in every anti-bonding it will be jared only, no?
You have to see the structure. Suppose they were going bonding overlap, means something like this. This is plus, plus, minus, minus. And whole thing will be plus and this whole thing will be minus. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now, if I'm starting with this point, and then I am going towards the center of symmetry, and then I am going this direction. I'm going from plus to minus. Are you getting a point?
Yes, sir.
So so pi orbital will be unjared. Getting a point?
So can't we conclude that all antibonding orbitals will have Jared and all
I
bonding
don't,
orbitals?
remember it like that. We have to check it for different orbitals. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir. Okay.
It will also depend on the, shape of the orbital and something like that.
Okay.
Okay. So, for example, if you are saying that you have two 1s orbitals, okay, and they are forming a bonding orbital, then the whole thing will be like one big single dot. This is plus and this is plus. Then the whole thing will be plus. So you see, this is a bonding orbital, but you see the whole region is plus charged only. Are you getting a point? The whole region
Yes.
is. So if you go from one point to another across the plane of symmetry, center of symmetry, from here to here, the sign won't be changing. Getting a point?
Yes, sir. Understood.
So it will be what? It will be Jared. So you see, this is sigma bonding orbital, which is Jared. Are you getting a point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So sigma, if you draw it for sigma star, you will find that it is unjared because the signs are opposite. Yes, no?
Yes,
So
sir.
what I would request you people that open your notes, okay, and go through the part where I've discussed the orbitals. Try to find out which is jared and which is unjared. Can you do that? I took
Yes,
a
sir.
whole class on this. Okay. So, you have all the time in this world to revise all the notes of mine. Okay. So this is a good motivation to try. You see, don't think about that you will be, you will take one day, and you do whole of chemical bonding. That day will never come, especially when you are giving full syllabus exam. So just like today we are discussing like few points. Just open the notes and go through those points only. This way, partial revision will be done. Getting my point? Right now, you won't get a motivation to revise the whole full chapter, from starting to end. It is impossible. But these partial revisions will help you in retaining the important problem solving points. Are you getting my point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So can you move forward? Answer
Yes,
will be
sir.
N22 minus and O2. Because you see, in all the four cases, you will be having pi star orbital as HOMO, holiest occupied molecular orbital. So all of them will be having Jared HOMO. Okay. So from these three, the common species will be N2, 2 minus and O2 only. Okay, I have shown it by red. Okay. So 23 is done. After that, 24 is a doubt.
No.
In 24, you have to draw the structures. Okay. If you draw the structure, these are the structures, you will get the answer. Okay. You see, whenever there is a 5-membered +5 oxidation state, it has to be a metaphosphoric acid derivative. If it is having more than one phosphorus atom. Getting my point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So 25 is done, 24 is done. Next is 25. Is this 25? Is it a doubt? Is 25 a doubt?
No, sir.
Everyone is clear on 25? You see, you first calculate lambda naught equivalent AgCl. Okay, and K solution will be K conductance of a solution will be conductance of due to AgCl plus conductance due to water. So the conductance of water is given, conductance of solution is given, so you can find conductance or conductivity due to AgCl. Once you are knowing this, the units you should be very particular about. The units must be in Siemens centimeter inverse and Siemens centimeter square equivalent inverse in this case. Okay, then only you will be getting the things. Okay, so in this case, actually you will be getting it in terms of normality, but normality and molarity will be same because N factor is 1 for AgCl. Are you getting my point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think we have done these type of questions too much, so this is it. Question number 26, is it a doubt?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just one minute. Okay, so let us look into question number 26. You see, it is a reaction which is similar to the inversion of glucose, where inversion of sucrose, where sucrose is going to give glucose and fructose, and the optical notation of the solution initially from plus it goes to minus. Okay, so it is similar type of that, but here they are representing it as two parallel reactions. Okay, so A is giving B and A is giving C. Okay, for one, the rate constant is K, for the other rate constant is 2K. Now let us say that after time T, X moles of A, we started with 1 mole of A, and after some time T, X moles of A went into reaction in this batch and Y moles of A went to reaction along this batch. So you see how many moles of B will be formed?
X.
And how many moles of C will be formed? Y.
So it should be 2, I know,
Y.
because it is 2K over there.
Oh, no. You see, A is giving B. If it's X moles you are taking, how many moles of B you will be getting? Stoichiometry. There is no chemical kinetics here.
Okay.
Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so this is the point. Okay. Just because it is 2K here, will be affecting the rate expression. Okay. Now you see, the ratio, we already know that if you are having parallel reaction, then the ratio of rate constants will also give you the ratio of the products. The concentration of B by concentration of C will be K by 2K. Are you getting a point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So X by Y will be equal to 1 by 2, which is K by 2K. So Y will be equal to 2X. Okay. Once we got this, we just use X instead of Y. So this will be 1 minus 3X. Okay. And K equivalent will be K plus 2K. It will be 3K. Are you getting a point? Now, you see, A will be undergoing first order decomposition with the rate constant equal to K equivalent, which is 3K. So I can write ln of initial by final. Ln of 1 by 1 minus 3x is equal to K equivalent into T. It is basically ln of A by A minus X is equal to KT. This is the first order. So A here is 1 and A minus X is 1 minus 3x here. Final concentration. Are you getting a point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So K equivalent into T will be ln of 1 minus 1 by 1 minus 3x, and X we have to calculate. Now how will we calculate X? Through the optical rotation part. You see, optical rotation of the solution at any point will be what? Optical rotation due to A plus optical rotation due to B plus optical rotation due to C. Okay? Now, what is optical rotation due to A? It would be 15 into 1 minus 3x, because you see, optical rotation per mole is given. So 15 into 1 minus 3x plus 10 into 1 minus 10 into x plus minus of 20 into 2x for C. So if you do the maths, it will come out to 15 minus 75x. Now it is given that we are trying to find out a time when the optical rotation of the solution becomes 0. So this means that theta t is equal to 0, and that is equal to 15 minus 75x. X will be equal to 0.2. Getting my point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So we'll be using K equivalent T is equal to ln of 1 minus 3 into 0.2, which is 1 minus 0.6. It will be ln of 1 by 0.4, and it will be equal to ln of 2.5 or 5 by 2. Okay. Now T will be equal to what? 1 by K equivalent into ln of 5 by 2. Okay. And K equivalent will be 3K, which is 3 into 0.024. And ln of 5 by 2 will be ln 5 minus ln 2. ln 5 is 1.6 and ln 2 is 0.7. So it is 0.9. If you do the mathematics, answer will be 12.5 seconds. Are you clear in the chemistry part? Maths to you people are
Sir?
already very intelligent. Yeah.
When we're calculating theta equivalent, don't we do n1 theta 1 plus n2 theta 2
That
by
is,
n1 plus n2?
no, that is for specific rotation of the solution. Theta is total rotation.
What is specific rotation, sir?
Huh? See, you are already given per mole. Are you getting my point? What will be total number of moles? Can you tell me in this case? Actually, the total number of moles should be there, but you see, we are lucky that the total number of moles will be 1. You see, at a given moment, what is the moles of A plus B plus C?
1 only, sir. But then you should write, na?
Yeah, we should write. Okay,
Okay.
this is a very good point. Okay. So if there were, stoichiometric coefficients, we will be in great trouble. Everyone is clear about what she is saying? You see, theta for the solution will be sigma ni theta I by sigma ni. Are you getting my point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that is good. See, these are the things which require time. Okay. Otherwise, so getting solutions are very easy. But having a discussion is a good thing. See, the whole point is to that you start pointing out these things. Okay. Then my job is done. Okay, 26 is done. 27 is a doubt, right? It's not a doubt. I will be very happy if it's not a doubt. Well, it's a physics problem actually. Want me to discuss it? '27.
No, sir.
Everyone is clear on this question? See, I will just discuss it in a bit brief. Okay. See, power is given to you. Okay. And you know energy of 1 photon. So you can find the number of photons emitted per second. Okay. It will be power, energy per second by energy of 1 photon. So it will come out to be 4 into 10 power 15. Now you see, when you're talking about the total area of radiation wavefront, it will be 4 pi into r square, where r is this distance. Okay, if this is the source, then the wavefront will be something like, going like this. Now, of this wavefront, only the projected area is the area which is receiving the photoelectrons. So you see, incident area will be pi into the radius of this. Okay, this projection will be a circle. Okay, whose radius will be pi into 0.8 5 into 8 mm, which is 8 into 10 power minus 3 square. So you see number of photons incident per area will be total number of photons per second into incident area by total area of the wavefront. Okay. If you do it, it will come out to be like 10 by 11. And you see the efficiency is given to be 1%. So it has been 10 by 11 to 0.01, it will be 10 by 9. So y will be 9. Everyone is clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So this is like, this is a direct physics question which has been asked in chemistry. So you can ask answer also. Okay, so after 27, 28 is a doubt? I have
Why
marked,
G? Sir,
huh?
G.
Why G won't be showing optical isomerism?
Yes.
Because of, in here inversion will take place. Like in case of amines, the lone pair can go up and lone pair can go down. Here also the inversion will take place. It will be rapidly interconverting into a form which is something like this. So here it won't show optical activity due to external compensation. Are you getting the point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So why will E show?
Why will E show? Because odd number. Okay. Why will E show optical rotation? Okay. It is both chlorine, no? E will not show optical rotation actually. Are you getting a point? Because
Yes.
you see, both groups are same, so you'll have a plane of symmetry. Okay. I just didn't see the chlorine part to be same. Okay. So E will not show optical rotation. Okay. The answer should be 5 only, not 6.
Sir, in case of C and D, they can be a plane of symmetry, no?
Yeah, but there can also be a thing where there will be no plane of symmetry. If you talk about thrioform, then there will be no plane of symmetry there. It is showing that if any of the stereoisomers can show optical isomerism, we can say that the whole molecule can show optical isomerism. Are you
Okay.
getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you clear on other 5? I think they have included G in the option because as a molecule it can show optical isomerism, but the observed optical activity will be 0 due to external compensation. Are you getting my point? So only by that logic the answer will come to be 6. Clear? Yes, no?
So now G is the answer or no?
Huh?
Now G is the answer for this question.
See, means if you are considering optical activity, then G will have 0 optical activity. Are you getting my point? But technically, if you are just considering optical isomerism, okay, then as a molecule, G can show optical isomerism because it is connected to 4 different groups.
Sir, in actual exam, should we consider or no?
Actual exam, if it is mentioned optical activity, then G won't be the answer. If it is saying optical isomerism, I feel that G should be the answer. Are you getting my point? If they have asked optically active, then the answer will be 5. If they are asking optical isomerism, the answer will be 6. So I think that in this case, the answer will stand. Getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Because optically active means it can be inactive due to external compensation also. Only plane of symmetry is not the criteria for optical activity to be 0. Are you getting a point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So 28 is done, 29 and 30. Acha, after one paper discussion, I will give you a 10 minutes break. Okay. because we have to finish them today only. Again, next week, 2 more papers will come. So I know that half of you people will go, but even if 10 people are there, I will conduct that discussion. Okay, this is the time which is free for me as well as you people. Ajay, you people are doing the assignments which I have been given?
Yes, sir.
But I don't think anyone has done the aldehyde, ketone and carboxylic acid assignment, right? Because no one asked for the key. Okay, try to finish those assignments. Okay, you take your time. That's why I'm giving you the weekdays I am giving you time to just attempt those assignments. Okay. Yes. Pansar is asking how many times. Today he is taking class. Pansar.
Sir said that he'll take a class.
So, next is question number 31. 29 and 30. Doubts? 29 is easy. You have to just see which ores are magnetic, wolframite and magnetite. Okay, these two are non-magnetic. This you have to know. I have given you the list of magnetic ores and magnetic suppression methods. Is it clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Question number 30. Is it a doubt? See, in 30, you have to use a density formula. Rho is equal to Z into mW by Na into AQ. A density is given. Okay, Z is given because it is CCP arrangement, so it is FCC. mW is something which you need to find out. Na, you know, and AQ is given. How A is 2 root 2R for FCC. So R is given, so you can find out A, and then you can use it in this formula. From this, you will get molecular weight to be 61.44. Okay, so moles of unit cell will be molar mass, given mass by molar mass into 4. Because 1 mole, you see, 1 unit cell will contain how many units? 4 units? 4 atoms? Are you getting my point? This you must be remembering. That in a FCC unit cell, effective number of atoms is 4. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, you see, you have to calculate the number of moles. It will be 307.2 by 61.44. These many moles of atoms are there. Divided by 4 will give you the moles of unit cells. Because 1 unit cell contains 4 atoms. Clear, everyone? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So after this, 31. 31, I have marked all the, you see, Hoffman's product, when you will be getting, either you are having a poor leaving group, okay, or you are having a bulky base, or you are having a cyclic elimination. Okay, so these 3 will be covering all the cases here. The first case, fluorine is a poor leaving group, so Hoffman's elimination. Second case, you have a bulky base, that's why Hoffman's elimination. Third case, you have an ester. Now, if you are heating an ester, this will undergo cyclic elimination. Okay, I think I have discussed the cyclic elimination case in hydrocarbons. Okay, so in this case also you will get a less substituted product as a major product. Okay, and then in this case again poor leaving group, so Hoffman's elimination, poor leaving group, Hoffman's elimination. Are you getting a point?
So H is also a poor, like in case of H, also HF is also a poor leaving group, no?
Yeah, but in this case, you see the double bond which is formed has to be, you see, basically in this case, the transition state acquires a negative charge. This is a case of what we call as E1CB. Okay, here this hydrogen will go and negative charge will be formed. Now this negative charge can be delocalizing this benzene ring. That is why this hydrogen will go. This is more substituted hydrogen compared to this one, because this side you have a bulkier group. Are you getting my point? Yes or no?
No.
You see, you have this hydrogen and this hydrogen. You have fluorine. Which one is more substituted hydrogen in terms of, groups around it? Both are 2 degree, but this is containing phenyl and this is CH3 only. Getting my point?
Yes.
So actually here we cannot talk about Hoffman's product as such, because both are 2 degree hydrogen. But suppose we are saying that a less sterically hindered hydrogen is giving the Hoffman's product, then this is the less sterically hindered hydrogen. Are you getting my point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So if this hydrogen goes, then you get a double bond, but it is not conjugated with the benzene ring. This won't be the product. Are you getting my point?
Yes, okay. I understand.
So the double bond will come here somewhere if it goes out, If this goes out. So 32. 32 actually says that you are having a salt X and you are treating it with dilute H2SO4 and you are not getting any, no change is observed. But you are treating it MnO2 and concentrated H2SO4, you are getting colored vapors. Okay, now there are very less gases in the whole salt analysis which are colored. One of them is NO2, okay, and then Br2, Cl2 and I2. Okay, these are the only colored gases which are there in whole salt analysis. So you see, MnO2 is an oxidizing agent. Means that whatever is the anion, it is getting oxidized to any of these gases. So it can be NO2, Cl minus, Br minus and I minus. F minus cannot be the answer. Nothing can oxidize F minus to F2 because F2 is already the strongest oxidizing agent. Are you clear with this?
Yes, sir.
In a spontaneous reaction, it won't get formed. Okay. So after this, 33, 34. 33, you can write the configuration of Ma2, B2, C2 using this. Are you getting a point?
So 34.
34. See, 34 is something like this. So it is. So they are asking only G. 33 is clear to all of you, no? Okay. So you see, in 33 they are saying that A, B, and C are A chiral ligand. Okay, but they have asked for total GI. So total GI will be this. Out of this, only this one will be optically active. All others will be optically inactive. Okay. 34. You see, 34, if you are seeing, all these are bidentate ligands. Okay, now bidentate ligands are always arranged such that on adjacent position, means they can only occupy 90-degree positions. They cannot occupy 180-degree position because the ring strength will be very high. Are you getting my point?
So can't it be 120?
There is no 120-degree position available in an octahedral complex. It is either 90-degree or 180-degree.
Okay, sir.
Okay, that is why. Everyone is getting this? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So after this, 35 and 36. I think 35, yeah, this I can discuss like this one. 35 and 36. Now it is saying only one mono-substituted product in nitration. So you see, the answer will be C because both are electron withdrawing groups. So there is only one position which is available, meta to both, which is meta to both. So only this position, single nitro product you will be getting. In all other cases, you will be getting multiple nitration products. Okay, you can have attack here, 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 and here. In this case, ortho and para, so you'll get 4 positions. In this case also, you'll be getting like 2 different positions. Okay, are you getting my point? 35?
Yes, sir.
36 is simple. You see, acylation followed by reduction is more suitable than alkyl benzene in place of direct alkylation in presence of a Lewis acid. So basically, you see, suppose you are having N-propyl chloride and you are having, CH3, CH2, COCl. Then this method is more preferred than this one because, first of all, if you, in this case, first you will be getting, the end product which you will be getting will be a alkyl benzene. Okay. And alkyl benzene will have a tendency of further reaction because the ring will be more activated towards ES due to the alkyl group. Are you getting my point? Yes or no? If you are doing a direct alkylation, there is a possibility of polyalkylation because the product is an alkyl benzene, which is more reactive than the original benzene molecule. Are you getting my point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So in that case, the reaction will give polysubstituted products, which we don't want. So this is one of the reasons why we first do acylation, because acylation will create this type of product. Okay. And you see this product, 1 minute. This product will be this is not an oxygen, this is just a carbon atom. Okay, and this will be deactivating the ring towards further reaction because carbonyl group is a deactivating group and deactivated rings will not undergo Friedel-Crafts reaction. So after this acylated product is formed, the reaction won't go for polyacylation. And then if you do the Clemenson's reduction, you will get the benzene. Are you getting my point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Another reason for following is, following the acylation followed by reduction method is that there is no scope of rearrangement in case of acylation followed by reduction. In case of alkylation, the 1 degree N-propyl ion can rearrange to 2 degree ion. So you won't get the intended product. Okay. So for preparing 1 degree alkyl benzene, acylation followed by reduction is more suitable. This is an extra point. Are you people getting it? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think this paper 1 is completely discussed. Okay. Paper 2 we'll be discussing on Tuesday. Okay. And then next week's backlog paper we'll be discussing in the coming days. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So with this, I hope that we had a good discussion on all the points today. Anything which you want to ask again? Or everything is clear? Yes, no?
Clear, sir.
Okay, so with this, I'm ending today's paper discussion. Thank you for attending today's paper discussion.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So we meet on, say, Tuesday again. We'll have the paper 2 discussion also. Okay. Thank you, people.
Bye, sir.
Yeah. So I'm stopping the recording now.